Hi, my name is Susie Phillipson and I work for the Seattle Department of Neighborhoods. I'm here to share information about light rail expansion to West Seattle and Ballard. If you've got questions about what you see or hear, my email address is on the last slide. Thanks for joining me. Light rail to West Seattle and Ballard is one of the biggest infrastructure projects our city has seen. That new light rail will serve 14 stations and carry you almost 12 miles. To make that happen, Sound Transit is building 2 water crossings, a new downtown tunnel, and nearly 12 miles of track and many new stations. As you may know, light rail is a great way to get around. In between the time when you can tap your Orca card at all these new stations and now, there are many points where the city and Sound Transit want to ask for your input so that we can make decisions that reflect what you want and need. When we learn from you, we share what you say with designers, engineers, and elected officials, and it helps those folks make decisions. So the City of Seattle is working with Sound Transit in this effort, and we share quite a few responsibilities. A big one is that we have committed to making sure that equity guides our decisions. That means we're listening to the voices of people of color and other folks who are not well represented in public process. And we are also striving to make decisions that lead to outcomes that lift those communities up. We are also working closely with Sound Transit to co-plan stations in partnership with you, the communities who will use light rail. The city has some of its own roles also. Mayor Jenny Durkin and Council Member Deborah Juarez sit on the Sound Transit Board, and they will weigh in on and vote on big decisions. The city is also planning housing, businesses, and open spaces to support neighborhoods around stations. And we also issue permits so that Sound Transit can build stations and track. Sound Transit will evaluate potential alignments. That's the route the trains take. Sometimes people call those guideways. And station locations, which they are doing right now as part of their draft environmental impact study, or an EIS. In a nutshell, Sound Transit is conducting planning, environmental review, and design of the light rail system. They will also build and operate it. These diagrams show where each of us are working and then how we also overlap. The little yellow triangle in the leftmost diagram represents the station. Sound Transit is in charge of the station itself. They are offering opportunities to collaborate on station design as we move along. Then in the middle, where we overlap, we're sharing work on what we call the station context. That's about 1 to 3 blocks around the station. Here, we're thinking about how walkers, bike riders, strollers, and rollers access the station, also drop-off pickup, and then what are the other things that make the station context work well and serve the whole community? And then to the far right, the city is looking closely at what we call the greater station area. That's about 5 to 7 blocks around the station. For some folks, that's about a 10-minute walk in any direction. There are different questions that come up in this area. You might notice the little arrows indicating movement into and out of the boundary. We put those there because we know that light rail neighborhoods often become hubs for much larger areas. You might be wondering, what can I do right now? Well, you're doing it. You're listening to this presentation, even with all the background noise as I record it at home. We also encourage you to read our materials and go to Sound Transit's website and do the same. Keep showing up and talking to us so we know your thoughts and your feelings. Also, this is a big one. Please think about your neighbors, your friends, family members who may not have time or energy to participate. Can you help them stay informed and ask them what their views are? We need your help in that way because we can't talk to everybody who lives in these areas. That would help us a lot. We are early in this process and we have the biggest chance early on to shape how it goes. You might also be wondering, what has the city done so far? And the couple things that I've got here is that we've established strong relationships with Sound Transit to identify issues early and also craft solutions together. We have created internal teams for permitting, planning, and then also public engagement. We are collaborating with Sound Transit on a racial equity toolkit to center issues race, which has included working closely with the Delridge and Chinatown International District neighborhoods, where we know people have been underserved in the past. We've created a vision for this project and in general for the transportation efforts on the part of the city. And to support that vision, we've also crafted a set of guiding principles. These are drawn from the thousands of conversations we've had with you all over the past few years. And each of those guiding principles also has a set of objectives that kind of unpack and define what we mean in that guiding principle. And I'm going to read the guiding principle, and then I'm going to move on to the next slide. And if you'd like to hit pause and read the rest of the slide, please do so. There will be a test. No, there won't be a test, but we do want to ask you how you feel about these, and we want to refine them if we need to, so that when we create a final version, we know that you've told us what's working and what's not. So I'm going to move on to the next slide, and at the very end, there'll be an opportunity to click over to a survey if you want to let us know what you think. The first guiding principle is equity. And by that we mean race and social justice is the foundation for city decision-making on light rail expansion. Well, what is racial equity? We're all talking a lot about this right now, and we could talk about it all day and night and a lot longer, but this is a kind of a short version. When social, economic, and political opportunities are not determined by a person's race. Got dependable transit. We want to support efficient and reliable light rail service to your neighborhood that gets you where you need to go. Vibrant communities. We want to create opportunities for affordable housing and businesses located near stations that support your diverse community with more places for you to live, work, and shop. And climate action. We'd like to reduce our dependence on cars and give communities real clean energy alternatives for transportation that reduce our impact on the changing climate. Take our survey. We want you to stay in the loop of this process. We're starting an e-newsletter shortly, and we encourage you to fill out our survey. There are surveys in 8 languages: English, Spanish, Somali, Vietnamese, traditional Chinese, simplified Chinese, Tagalog, and Korean. So if any of those languages is applied to folks that you know, please encourage them to check in. We also have materials in all of those languages on our website. So thank you for watching this and listening, and we look forward to hearing from you.